Hi coaches, we're just going to talk about the Waikato drill that we want all age groups to be using as often as possible. We'll talk about the setup of it and then we'll talk about the coaching points. So to set up the drill is really simple, you just need 4 markers and it's about 8 large steps by 8 large steps. Again though, with anything, with the age and the ability of your players, you can change your dimensions to suit. It'll be groups of 4, so players will be lined in between 4 here, 4, and then if you have numbers, make sure one side's loaded up, but there's always 4 on both sides. Ball starts at one end, and it's a multi-progression, so there's a lot of things we can add to this as we go along, so think of it as a staircase, so we can start at the bottom stair and move our way up. So the first element of this is depth, and we talk about our ball carrier creating depth, especially in phase attack. Often we find our players standing flat, and then we get up and for not having depth, we'll actually want the ball carrier to create depth, and that nullifies that common issue that we have at all levels of the game. So to do that, as a coach, you should start centre line, and the players just run across. It's the oldest rugby drill in the world, essentially, but the key point is, as they're running across and passing the ball down the line until they get to the other end, and then these 4 go, ball carrier can't pass the ball until it gets halfway. And then we talk about the delaying of our speed from our support players. If this player doesn't take off, this player takes off just after, this player takes off just after, you have naturally created that depth by our ball carrier accelerating with the ball in 2 hands, first 3 steps acceleration, get to the midpoint of the drill and then pass the ball. Alright, you see a distinct difference when you start coaching that, so that's the first thing we're going to work on. Okay, once we've done that, and that then remains from this moment on at Sydney Grammar Rugby, ball carrier must take the ball to the line, must accelerate first 3 steps, ball in 2 hands. Then we start talking about angles of run. So this is where the multi-progression comes into it. After we've got used to the boys just running across nice and simply and back again, making sure they're always changing positions, so they're practicing left and rights. We then talk about ball transfer in the middle, so that's for these 2 players, and we ask our players to reach towards the ball, and then that allows them the opportunity or the option to either give a quick pass in 1 or 2 steps or catch the ball, go mid-line, engage the defender, go back again. Too often our players catch the ball mid-line, and if they do want to pass, it's going to take that time to reload before they can pass again. So speed of transfer in the middle players after the ball carrier has created depth, ball carrier creates depth. Speed of transfer in these 2 positions here is crucial, and that's why we want players to practice that by changing positions. The next thing we think about is angles. That can be angle of pass or angle of run. So the next progression is ball carrier comes forward and does a cut pass to player 3. Player 2 delays his run, and then there's an inside pass to player 2 who runs on. Player 4 really delays their support run because player 2 then passes to player 4 on a nice hard line, running hard and popping the ball off here. So that's change of angle of pass, and that's our next progression up. Progression following that is number 1 is going to wrap number 4. Key coaching points are he must do it with inside the grid. So to allow him to do that, we need change of angle of run. Player 1 still runs to the center, still runs to the midpoint, passes to 2, 2 passes to 3, passes to 4, but player 1 has to wrap. Now the key point about staying inside here is actually the angles of run from player 2, 3 and 4. So to demonstrate that, and the types of angles of run you want to see are unders lines. As player 1 accelerates towards the midpoint, player 2 will start to run on unders, player 3 will start to run on unders, player 4 will start to run on unders. So as we're passing, our players are running these unders. 2 things for us, for number 1 as he's wrapping around, is run to midpoint. Time the run so that this player here is actually throwing a switch pass. Alright, and there's a whole raft of reasons for that. Worst case scenario, it's a cross the body pass, but if we can time our run, we can get a switch pass here, and because we've all changed our angle, this player now has a gap to run into and pops the ball off. And ensure again that number 1 changes different positions so everyone practices running and everyone practices the wrap. That's the first phase of the Waikato. We'll talk in more depth about some more progressions as we go, but make sure your players understand about the depth. Ball carrier creates depth, delay our support run, and then we can change and vary our angles of run and angles of pass to give us more options in attack, especially open play phase attack.